All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have the second qualifier for the Rise of the Mortarchs. Right now we have Mutkip versus Ulrich Rahl for our first match, followed by Shetland Apache and Therese for the following match. So far we have Therese being a repeat contender for the semifinals. Everyone else is a new face for the stream. So we'll switch on over to the starting lineup here. So we have all right. All right, and we are set. Yes, we do have RTK representing themselves well in the semis. So now we're just waiting on picks for the first match here. We will be on Tower of Hoeth for the first one. Alright, so Mutkip will be going with the Dark Elves and banning the Wood Elves and Beastmen. Now that is going to be an interesting ban choice, because I know Ulrich likes the coast. So Mutkip will be right back here. Oh, volume is low again. Well, we will have to adjust that. All right, so on a little test. How's that sounding for volume? Did a little adjustment. Oh, but Ulrich will actually be going with Bretonia as his pick. Could be a little higher. All right, how does that sound? Just it was a little adjustment. So yeah, the field for today has been a rather interesting one. So let's just kind of look at the two contenders that we have right now. I know we have Mutkip faced off against Papa Palpatine, Tesla, and Legion as his opponents for today, and Ulrich Rahl has gone up against Dark Phoenix. He beat Tank, and he has also gone up against Namru today, so some very tough opponents on his end. And now we're just waiting on the picks. Mutkip should be back pretty quick here, and then we will get this first match on the way. Tara's cheering on his clanmate Ulrich Rahl. He will be up next against Shetland Apache. Yes, I mean, this is going to be a best of 3. The 2 semis will be best of 3, and the final will be a best of 5. So yes, and a little rundown as well as for this tournament in general. The Rise of the Mortarchs, this is the second qualifier. Planning on doing 4 or 8 qualifiers. If I do 4, then the remaining slots will be filled based on performance for the previous 4 qualifiers based on just win-loss and just quantity of wins, kind of similar to how Herbert Walker does his tournaments. But otherwise, if we'll be doing 8, we might still do the same thing. We might do a 16-person playoffs, but we'll probably end up doing an 8-person playoff bracket. So yes, Shetland Apache, Mortarch is a, I mean, for those not too familiar with the lore, that is what Nagash called his trusted lieutenants. I believe there was 9 Mortarchs in the lore. A few of them are currently in the game. The others are not. I think we have, how many are there? Let's see, we have Luther, we have Vlad, Manfred, Arkin. Those are the ones currently in the game. All right, well, hopefully Mukip is going to be back fairly soon here. Welcome, Malverde. Welcome to the stream. Alright, so yeah, Ulrich is set. We're just waiting on Mukip. I think taking a little longer than maybe he was thinking, but hopefully he should be ready any moment now. So yes, Malverde, the other semi, is going to be against Shetland Apache and Therese. Therese is also from RTK, just like Ulrich here. All right, Mukip is ready, so Ulrich Rawl is setting up, and we will be underway. Yes, Malverde, we could be seeing an all RTK final. All right. All right, so both armies have loaded in. We will take a look at the Dark Elves, led by Mudkip. So let's see. So we have unit Cold One Knights. We have a couple Scourge Runner Chariots, Reaper Bolt Thrower. We have the... that's interesting. Why am I not... Okay, so yeah, we have Celestial Harvesters. We have some more Cold One Knights. We have just a line of Dread Spears. We have some Bleak Swords, 2 Blackguard of Nagaron, and is led by a Supreme Sorceress of Death. So those Blackguard will do well against kind of the Cav forces, and we'll take a look at Bretonia. So we have a 1-field Trebuchet. It looks like we have 2 Paladins up in the sky. We have kind of a line up of peasant mobs in the front, a couple of spearmen at arms. We have some peasant bowmen, pox arrows, just the regular peasants, pox, and another pox arrow. So a good amount of poison on the field, and then a lineup of questing knights as the cav horses, as well as a unit of grail knights, all led by the Fey Enchantress, who will do very well indeed, especially there's not a whole lot on the Dark Elf roster that can really kind of take her out quickly. So we will see how that goes. But yeah, the overwhelming mobility of Bretonnia in this matchup, these Cold One Knights are going to have their hands full trying to deal with them, and the Scourge Runners are going to have to be doing some good skirmishing as well to kind of whittle them down. Alright, so yes, we are underway. So Alric Rawl is ready. Okay, looks like he is also going to be ready as well. So start when ready. This looks like we have a little bit of kind of forest deployment on both sides. Let's take a look at what kind of forces Markep has put in. So he's put his cav forces all in the forest, and just a little bit hiding in the forest for Alric, because it looks like those Grail Knights are probably going to be visible, but the other two will be hidden. Alright, and we are off. Alright, so yes, the Supreme Sorceress of Death is going to be kind of pushing up, get some spells off, while the rest of the Bretonian forces are behind. But yeah, the field trebuchets are firing off. Rebuilt throwers are going to want to be trying to get into range to quickly shut them down. Well, these paladins are definitely going to be screening out the Supreme Sorceress here. That Supreme Sorceress should be able to get into the safety of her lines, as those paladins do break off their pursuit. But yes, the Reaper Bolt Throwers taking a fair amount of damage from the trebuchet. Still have all three of their models though. Scourge Runners firing into the Paladins as they back off, as the Peasant Bowmen now open up into the front line of the Dark Elves. So I think the Scourge Runner Chariots are going to really need to be dealing with the Cav forces for the entire time. They really can't be affording to be firing any of their shots into any other targets right now. I mean, the Paladins isn't the worst shots, but it's definitely going to be doing much more damage against the cavalry forces, as the Reaper Bolt Throwers are now down to 2 models. Let's take a look at the the trebuchets are still at full health, so I'm guessing that Bretonnia is going to win that initial artillery engagement. The front line is being engaged, kind of Dark Elves kind of blobbing up a little bit onto that flank there, but they did able to break that peasant mob fairly quickly and are shutting down one of the pox arrows. But now Bretonnia is pushing forward with their cav, trying to get some charges into some unbraced infantry. That looks like Malkip is starting to turn and face that incoming charge, pushing up with his Blackguard. So those cavalry forces of Bretonnia are not going to want to be anywhere near those Blackguard. They will do very good damage. And it looks like a pendulum is going to be coming down, cutting right through. Or no, that is not a pendulum. That is... Now, yeah, Shadows is pendulum. What is... Oh, they brought that scroll. Okay. I have not actually seen that in a multiplayer for quite some time. That's kind of interesting to see that. I believe that is just a one use. Doesn't look like it did a whole lot there. Kind of a wasted bit of funds. It looks like, yeah, he's just having Spirit Leech on the Death Sorceress. And a Soul Stealer going down from the Celestious Harvesters. Very good connecting with 3 units of questing knights. So that's getting some very good value right there. And now the Fey Enchantress is getting into the engagement, getting her Mortis Engine effect, but she is really alone right now. It'd be nice if she had some kind of support in terms of infantry. But again, there's nothing that's really going to be able to do a lot of burst damage onto her. So she's going to be fairly safe in that engagement as long as she doesn't stay in for too long. So these Scourge Runner chariots are kind of caught up a little bit with some Spearmen at Arms. They need to kind of pull out there, get some more shots into these questing knights. But now the Fey Enchantress is stuck in with some Cold One Knights, but has the Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis. Actually, so I missed that unit earlier on. So yeah, the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis stuck in right now. Doing some very good damage to the Cold One Knights, and they are rampaged. Especially, against those 3 units of cavalry. They were not going to win that engagement. But it looks like one of the Paladins is on the Bolt Thrower crew in the back. So I guess the Trebuchet was not able to completely eliminate that. It is still firing in unabated as the Bretonnia backs up, kind of kiting what's left of the infantry forces for the Dark Elves. So yeah, we have one Cold One Knight out. The other one is on very low health, but it is back in the fight. As that can kind of come in. It's really not going to be able to engage freely. The Bretonnia just still has that overwhelming mobility advantage right now with having all of their cav forces still sitting around. But the infantry is definitely being crumpled on the Bretonnia side, so the knights are going to have to carry the day, and they are going to now have to engage these Blackguard to the best of their ability. But that is not a sustained fight that they want to be taking, as the Field Trebuchet is now back, relinquishing their position on their artillery units. And what happened? So it looks like Muck conceded there. I think that might have been a little too early to call. It shouldn't. Let's see. So it looks like we have some quality problems on here. Let's take a look. It should be fairly good, but so let's take a look at. All right, let's take a look at our settings real quick before this next match. Let's see, it should be, there's all the settings from before. All right, well, hopefully that clears up. Let's take a look at settings on YouTube, see if there's anything with that would be affecting the stream. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, well, hopefully it gets cleared up. But, all right, yes, for the next map. All right, so at least maybe it's just a little spotty for the quality. It looks, everything's been the same from my previous settings, so I don't think it's anything to do with that, or at least hopefully. So, okay, so for the next map, let's go with Peak Pass. All right. So yeah, for that last match though, I think Muck might have conceded maybe a little on the earlier side, but I mean, yes, you have just the 2 units of Blackguard was all that was really left to deal with the cav forces, though the infantry of Bretonnia had pretty much been completely shattered. But yeah, you still had 2 questing knights, you had the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis and a Grail Knight still left, as well as the Fey Enchantress, who I think that may have been really the biggest factor, the Fey Enchantress, because you really didn't have anything to do enough damage to deal with her quickly enough to get rid of that Mortis effect. Yeah, Dark Elves just, they contending Cav against against Bretonnia as the Dark Elves just really doesn't work out very well. So Alaric is going to be going with Empire, banning Dawi, and Bretonnia. So, depending on, I'm not really sure what factions Mukip is best suited with. There's definitely some nice matchups I would be keen to pick against the Empire. And he is going with Skaven, though, so it's a fairly interesting matchup. I think both, depending on the builds, either side can really do well here. So yeah, let's see. Expecting to see probably some Pistoliers or Outriders would probably be a good choice for the Empire side. Skirmishing forces that they have really kind of outclass what Skaven has. Though Skaven, at least, if they're going up against, like, say, Empire Knights or something like that, their skirmishers do surprisingly well. I think I see the Night Runners or God Runners actually in a chase, since they do poison damage, are able to really do well against at least a chasing Empire Knights force. But Pistoliers or Outriders are probably going to be very good. Even the grenade launcher variant for the Outriders, especially against the kind of the unarmored Skaven, will do well. You might see a artillery piece from the Skaven. I guess it depends on how Mukip wants to play this. Some Giselles are generally a decent pick as well. I don't want to go too heavy, though, on the ranged. I'm guessing there's going to be a fair amount of mobility on the Empire side, but having some Rat Ogres as well would probably be some good picks as well for the Skaven. Alright, looks like Alaric is ready, and we're just waiting on Mukip now. Yeah, if the Empire decides to go with Volkmar, especially if he gets into close proximity of the Rattling guns, he'll do fairly well. Skaven against the Missile Cav, Giselles do some decent damage against Cav forces, or you can go with some of their artillery pieces, but as long as you are able to kind of screen them out and keep them away. Mortars will do very well against the infantry. Not necessarily, if they're able to score hits on the skirmishing Cav, they'll do all right. But yeah, I guess, yeah, we'll see if, I mean, the Empire decides to contend the artillery of the Skaven. They could bring a couple great cannons, or they could go for more of a skirmishing cav force. I mean, I've seen, yeah, either, I mean, Volkmar, I mean, Wolfheart can do all right. It kind of really depends, though, on what the Skaven has is more of a case by case. It looks like, yeah, Mukip is ready, and so is Ulrich. So we will get this show on the way. Alright, so yes, Skaven has decided to bring some Warp Lightning Cannons. They have a Grey Seer as their lord. We do have a couple Rattling Guns. So Malverdi was right there. And some Giselles as well as an Assassin. So for the, let's see, the Grey Seer, we have Warpstone Scroll. So I guess Mukip is a little more fond of using these scrolls. You usually don't see those too much. You got Vermintide, I guess some summons Clan Rat, Blessed with Filth, Pestilent Breath, and of course Unholy Clamor with the Bell. So, and then for the rest of the army, we have a couple Clan Rat Spears. We have the Council Guard. And yes, we have 4 Rat Ogres to kind of deal with the cav forces of the Empire, Skaven Slaves, and Clan Rats in the front. So, yeah, definitely very heavy on the kind of the range firepower. So yeah, the 2 Rattling Guns, the Giselles, the Ogres will really try and just keep everything away from those with their mobility. And then we'll look over to the Empire side, who is spreading very wide indeed. And they did bring a couple great cannons to contend with the artillery of the Skaven. So those 2 cannons should do fairly well against the artillery pieces of the Skaven. And so for the cav, yeah, we have 2 Knights of the Blazing Sun over here, 3 and 4 by the looks of it. So 4 Knights of the Blazing Sun. We have some spearmen, just some swordsmen, more spearmen, some more swordsmen. So very much just a basic front line. And we have a Jade Wizard with a Amber Wizard and Boris Toddbringer up in the skies. So I'm guessing the Amber Wizard's going to have the Amber Spear, or just the okay, so he just has Transformation of Kandan, and then we have, looks like Earthblood for the Jade Wizard. So the Jade Wizard will be just pretty much healing up the cav, and then the Amber Wizard is going to be getting that Manicore summons down to get into the backline forces there. I thought he might have brought the Amber Spear to help deal with the artillery pieces, to kind of help with the great cannons. But yeah, having the 2 great cannons will probably do well. But they are very far spread apart right now, so neither faction will be enraged to start things out. So, yeah, let's see. The Assassin, he's not going to do as well against perhaps Boris here, but looks like Ulrich is ready. Looks like Mukip has been pretty set as well. Do the last a few little adjustments here and there, but otherwise, yeah, very wide deployment by Ulrich, kind of making sure everything is going to be able to fire. I mean, he's only got the 2 cannons, but the Knights of Blazing Sun. But no, yeah, no skirmish cav. Because now that both armies are going to be pushing forward. So yeah, the range, they're still fairly far apart. The cannons should be getting in range first. Not really sure. Let's see if we look at the Warp Lightning Cannons. They have 430 range. First is the Great Cannons, which have 450. Yeah, so not a huge difference. But I mean, the Great Cannons will get in their first shot before the Warp Lightning Cannons do. So we'll see how that goes. Yep, the Giselles kind of seeing the flyers off in the flank. Kind of looking to perhaps get a few shots in as they do open up, firing into Boris. though he can be out of range fairly quickly there. Doesn't look like any of those shots connected anyways, as the cannons are now opening up into the Giselles, doing a lot of damage. So those Giselles are going to want to kind of be pulling back. A few more shots coming in and going just a little high. Viking, you want me to turn on unit icons? I can do that. There we go. Alright, so Giselles again opening up into the Amber Wizard. Oh, not going to be getting any shots into there. A summons coming down from that. I'm maybe a little on the early side. But, I mean, the Manticore will be able to really get in, shut down, I guess, any of the weapons teams for the Skaven. Though, I mean, if they go on the Giselles, these rattling guns in close proximity are just going to tear it up, though it does look like it's going for the rattling guns. So that's probably the good choice of the two. Some shots have been finding their mark against the Great Cannons. They have lost one of their artillery pieces, and some more shots raining in. See how those do as they cut right through, taking out another artillery piece. Now, if this Manticore summons is able to push off these rattling guns or any of these units, that would be very good. But it looks like they are going to be trying to goon the Greyseer as all the units now converge onto him. There is probably not quite enough support. The Rat Ogres are moving in to kind of screen them out as best they can while the Greyseer pushes forward. Though they have lost the Warplock Giselles for the time being, these rattling guns need to start opening up in that close proximity. They can do some very good damage now. Looks like the other summons of Manticore has already been popped, so that's both of the transformations of Kadan already in, as the Skaven have pushed up into the front line. But really the main fight is going to be back here. It's where it's going to be decided. Is the Empire going to be able to push off the 4 units of Rat Ogres and kind of get into the weapons teams? Right now, the Rattling Guns are just peppering these Knights of the Blazing Sun, perhaps getting a little bit of friendly fire into their own Giselles. And yeah, those Knights of the Blazing Sun are going to be off. Another unit of Empire Knights, so okay, so one Empire Knights in there, is out of the fight as well. The Amber Wizard getting on top of the Greyseer, but the Rat Ogres are pretty much all on top of their position right now. So it looks like this initial push from the Empire may be fizzling out a little bit. That one unit of that Feral Manticore is almost going to be dissipating now. The Amber Wizard, who's used both of his summons, so he's really not going to be casting any spells anymore. But, I mean, Boris has his regen. It does look like some of the other Knights of the Blazing Sun have been able to mop up the other units. So we got that Rattling Gun out, so that other Rattling Gun out. So it may have actually been a pretty good trade-off for the Empire, taking out all 3 of the weapons teams. So the only unit left is the Warp Lightning Cannon, who's taking shots in from the cannon. But it looks like actually one of the cannons has been pushed off by the Assassin. So that Great Cannon's off. This cannon is completely out, so the Great Cannons are both offline completely. They will not be coming back. So the Warp Lightning Cannon is now going to be free to fire, but these Knights of the Blazing Sun are getting right on top of them. So those may be the last shots that they will be firing, as the Council Guard are now kind of coming back to try and support. Though I really think the Skaven, in this case, they may have pushed a little too far forward. And yes, they were able to get the Great Cannons off, but now that Assassin is so far away, he's not going to be any help anymore. So like, he really should be trying to get on to like the casters, maybe Boris. But now, yeah, the Cav forces of the Empire have been able to completely eradicate all of the ranged firepower of the Skaven. So now it's just going to be a job of kind of mopping things up. I mean, you still have the Rat Ogres and the Greyseer, so both sides, it's going to be a melee fight from here in on out. I mean, you have these Great Cannons. There might be a few units left, so they could maybe cycle in and grab these artillery pieces on the far flank. Let's see if any of those units are still... All three of those units are still up. So they could man that artillery battery and do some good work there. But yeah, it looks like the Skaven infantry is starting to buckle. And the only thing left is going to be the Council Guard, the Rat Ogres, and the Grey Seer, while everything else is running for the hills. The mobility of the Empire are going to be able to clean up any stragglers. So this core unit of Skaven is going to be all that is left. I'm going to guess these Knights of Blazing Sun are going to want to be pushing in against these Warp Lightning Cannon crews. There's only a few of them left, but if they get on, they could get some good damage on. And let's see, the Assassin should be around here anyway, so he has kind of been screened out as well by Boris. But the rest of the Skaven blob is going to regroup with him. So all of the Skaven forces are now, that you see right here, are going to be all that is left for them. So, the Assassin's Trophy is on top of Boris. That's definitely a little probably premature on that. I don't know if they thought that Boris was going to be swinging in for an attack, but you really needed to kind of wait for the Assassin's Trophy until they were down on the ground. But yeah, the Rat Ogres pushing in, trying to push off what's left of this Spearman unit, though some support coming in from Boris, and it looks like a Clan Rat Summons is also coming down from the Grey Seer. Yeah, the Jade Wizard pushing things off. But, yep, this is going to be where this battle is decided. So, yep, and the Cav forces getting their charges in. Council Guard unable to brace, so they're taking a fair amount of hits, and a Vermintide coming through. Cutting through these Spearmen, probably going to be routing them. Not doing a whole lot of damage on the Knights. But yeah, it looks like the Assassin, though, is a little isolated here. He's doing some decent damage to the Amber Wizard, but the Empire Knights are going to be keeping him from the main engagement, while Boris is going to be able to kind of have his pick and choose of his own engagements, as now some more infantry support is coming the way of the Empire. But yeah, this Grey Seer of Plague really just needs to kind of stay in the engagement as much as he can, surround himself by the Council Guard to kind of make any attacks by the Empire really a bit more costly. If Boris wants to sweep in, if any of the Cav forces want to charge in, to have those Council Guard always surrounding the Grey Seer. But I guess, yeah, they are trying to kind of push in, try and save the Assassin as best as they can. So one Empire Knights is routing, as well as the Amber Wizard. The Amber Wizard on the Griffin, you don't want to necessarily lose him for nothing, but his spell casting has been used up in this match. So again, the Knights of the Empire just kind of cleaning things up, making sure nothing rejoins the fight, as the rest, it looks like some Spearmen, are going to try and screen out these two units of Clan Rats and Clan Rat Spears. Make sure that it's only the Clan Rats and Council Guard left in this fight. Though they have kind of left these swordsmen here to die for the time being. It looks like an Earthblood coming down, getting a little bit of heals up on these Knights of the Blazing Sun, and just tagging these two infantry units as well. So Boris again is going to be, I thought he might be going around trying to break. So he is going to be trying to break these units out here, keep them off the field. Swordsmen have shattered. So yeah, the Empire is doing a very good job of just kind of keeping all of the fringe units of the Skaven at bay, making sure that that blob of Skaven remains as just the Rat Ogres, Council Guard, and the Grey Seer with his Assassin. So yeah, the Spearmen will be getting quickly broken down. Now the Boris is actually diving in here. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea with I mean, what's surrounding him, he is heavily outnumbered. You have anti-large in here, you have the rat ogres, you have the assassin even. So he even has the assassin trophy popped on him, so he has lowered melee defense and attack. Though he's not taking quite as much damage as he could, but I still think that was unnecessary damage. As the Knights, Empire Knights and the Knights of the Blazing Sun kind of come in, trying to at least alleviate some of the pressure. We have the rest of the Empire forces. They all just kind of need to engage at the same time. And again, now you've lost those Empire Knights. So Boris is now getting really low, and he is at his healing cap. So what you see is what you get. So Skaven are really kind of climbing back into it with this blob of, I mean, all these rat ogres, I think, are really what's doing the damage. Like, if anything goes in, they're able to keep them from escaping. So you got these cav forces charging, and they're pulling right back. They don't want to be engaging on their own, as Boris now kind of comes in, keeping these clan rats, so they will be terror routing and shattered and off the field. So let's see how well this spell is damaged. It looks like Ulrich is able to dodge that spell fairly well, and now the rat ogres have caught up with these spearmen. So the Empire really needs to converge now. This is where they need to make their strike. If these Knights of Blazing, it might have actually been a good idea to engage these Knights of Blazing Sun, get these spearmen in, and then they would have kept them out of the battle, for at least for the initial part. But now the Empire is fully surrounding these last forces of the Skaven, as the rat ogres now are all shattering on the inside of this blob. So it's really only the Grey Seer and the Assassin that are left, as well as the Council Guard. But yes, that little that strike right there from the Empire broke all of those units of rat ogres. So now if the Empire just needs to pull back their cav forces, chase them all off, or just go straight for the kill and finish off this Assassin, have Boris turn around. So I know the Assassin and the Grey Seer are separated right now, so Boris might be swinging off to actually engage the Grey Seer over the Assassin. Though he is going to be dropping in on the Assassin, as the Assassin is fully surrounded by the Knights of the Blazing Sun. He is wavering right now, though he has gained a little bit of back, as the Council Guard are now coming in to assist. So yep, now the Knights finishing off the rat ogres as Boris comes in to intercept the Grey Seer before he is able to kind of provide that leadership buff. And it looks like the Great Cannons now are back online, so he was able to save them off for long enough to get them back on. So that's gonna spell the end right there. So yeah, it's just the Council Guard left. Everything else is shattered, and Skaven are going to be losing this match, and Ulrich will be taking his second and moving on to the finals. So yeah, I think the pushing, how the Skaven pushed up so fast, or I guess not necessarily so fast, but he just pushed up all of his infantry so far ahead of his weapons teams that was kind of a big crux, I guess. Like, he had no infantry support when the Empire came in with Boris, the Amber Wizard, the 2 Mana Core summons, as well as all of their cav. That was kind of a big loss early on, as they weren't able to get any shots. I mean, these Horcruxes, 0 kills here. Rattling guns only 2 and 10. I mean, yeah, they really didn't do enough work right there. So, oh, it looks like They are both already in. So... All right, so yeah, we have Apache is already in, so let's see if we can get Therese over here, as well as update the bracket as well. So we have Ulrich Roll continuing on into the finals. And we do have Therese up against Shetland Apache. As his opponent. So let's take a look back. See if Therese is in. He is. Very good. So we'll get the next map set. Let's see, what do we want to do for the next one? So let's do... Let's see, let's do Carrick Buffdar as our next map. Alright, and so let's see, I believe Shetland had the first picks. Yes, he should have the first picks. All right. So yeah, seeing that Demo says, I think that Ulrich wasn't attacking at one point, though he was just pretty much chasing off units, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't look like Ulrich was too concerned about that. I guess you could make an argument to that, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, Ulrich was pretty much just chasing off any of the remaining Skaven units in that. And let's see, for the picks, so Shetland's going to be going Bretonia, banning Lizardmen, and Dawi. So, which way? Again, though, that really opens up a coast pick here. Right? But we'll see how Therese picks his faction. So Therese will actually be going High Elves. Now I think the High Elves have traditionally been a little at odds against the Bretonian picks, but I guess with the recent DLC for the High Elves, I'm getting a bit more tools and stuff, so they have a lot more diverse builds that they can pick, kind of making the traditional picks that Bretonia would generally bring a little bit more difficult, but I think it's still probably a bit in Bretonia's favor here. But we will see if Therese has a trick or two up his sleeve. Right, so it looks like Shetland Apache is ready to go. We'll see how quickly Therese is ready himself. All right, both contestants are ready to go, and we will get this show on the way. Yeah, Shetland's been a little absent from tournaments as of late, but yeah, he mentioned this was his first one in a while, but he's done very well indeed with all of his matchups. We'll take a look at both of these contestants' paths through the bracket today after this match. But now both armies are loaded in, so we will start with the forces of Bretonnia. So we have, and away they go. So we have, it looks like, some Knights Errant. We have 3 of those. We have the Knights of the Lionhearted, Knights of the Realm Harrower, a mounted Yeoman Archer. We have the Royal Pegasus Knights and the Royal Hippogriff Knights. So very mobile picks. And so we have some Men-at-Arms, Spearmen-at-Arms. We have 4 Peasant Mobs. So we have a Damsel of Life with Alberic de Bordelot up in the skies. So yeah, the sort of life we have looks like Earthblood and Regrowth. So this is going to be a very mobile build for Bretonnia. That's really kind of how you're going to want to deal with the forces of the High Elves. And the High Elves, they have Teclis on his horse, so he has Regrowth, Enfeebling Foe, Potion of Croy. Looks like is that... So he has also... Oh, come on. There we go. So yeah, so Sword of Teclis, and yeah, and Flaming Sword of Ruin, Net. So he pretty much brought like his whole kit here. And then we also have some Lothran Seaguard, some Reaper Bolt Thrower. Expecting a Trebuchet, a couple of Spearmen. Let's see, we have some Silverin Guard. See, 4 of those units, so they'll do fairly well against any cav rushes, as well as a Star Dragon. So it's a lot more compact build on the High Elves side versus the Bretonnian side. We'll see if the High Elves are able to keep the tide of Bretonnia at bay, as they have the overwhelming mobility advantage here, as well as they have I'd say they probably have the aerial advantage as well. I mean, they have Alberic, they have the Royal Hippogriff Knights, who do very well. So that Star Dragon might not want to just kind of freely engage the air, but at least there isn't going to be a whole lot of missile support by the Bretonnians. So the Bolt Thrower firing into the Hippogriff Knights, making contact with one of the models. But now, yeah, the Star Dragon is pretty much free to do any charges right now. Nothing's going to be able to pin him down. You got the Hippogriff Knights and Alberic very far away, so just some free charges in, free damage where he can get it. But these mounted Yeoman Archers are pretty much just firing in uncontested right now. But now you have the Royal Hippogriff Knights and Alberic coming in. I mean, Teclis is a bit isolated. They might be definitely going in for like an Alpha Strike right here, as a spell is going to be rocking through the Silverin Guard. But the Silverin Guard are able to dodge that, and Alberic is netted down as all of the High Elves now turn and fire into him. But that may have just been to save Teclis from getting attacked. And now the Cav charge of Bretonnia is on the way. So we have the Knights Errant and the Knights of the Lionhearted. The Knights of the Lionhearted are kind of backing off as the Star Dragon falls in. Now these Knights Errant could possibly come in and pin that Star Dragon in. But they are just kind of sitting in the middle here, not really making any commitments. Getting a charge off into the backs of these unit of Spearmen, so that'll be a nice rear charge in. But it looks like Teclis has taken quite a bit of damage. Or no, that's not Teclis, I'm sorry. That's Alberic has taken a fair amount of damage from the Star Dragon and Teclis, and the Royal Hippogriff Knights are backing off. It looks like a net of Amnitok is being dropped as the Royal Hippogriff Knights back off, as all of the Lothran Seaguard are now going to be turning and firing, getting as much damage as they can. So that net might kind of be the saving grace for the High Elves right now, as these Knights Errant are pushed back. I think the Bretonnian cav forces kind of needed to all engage at the same time. They've been kind of coming in one at a time, not really getting like a nice hammer and anvils in as they could have been. The Star Dragon right now is like these Knights of the Realm are engaging the Star Dragon, though they don't really have the support that they need. These Hippogriff Knights have kind of been a little bit forgotten, perhaps. Now they are given an order to move. But I mean, if the Bretonnia is able to break these Spearmen pretty quickly, I mean, these bolt throwers have already been shut down by the Peasant Mound, but that'll open up a nice path into the back line of the High Elves and just get some rear charges in, completely shut down these forces. Now, if Bretonnian's able to, yes, and they're just moving in to shut down the Silvern Guard, or the Lothern Sea Guard more importantly, but now the Star Dragon is being gooned by Albric and the Royal Hippogriff Knights, as well as some Knights of the Realm. So he is pretty much unsupported. The Silvern Guard are moving in to help, but by doing so, they've left the Lothern Sea Guard to the mercy of the Bretonnian infantry. But that Star Dragon is taking quite a bit of damage, as here comes that hammer and anvil of Bretonnian cavalry. Looks like, though, Teclis has fallen as well, so that is not good for the High Elves, as their Star Dragon is continuing to get just gooned out, and that Star Dragon's now routing. So that Star Dragon continuing to take more damage. Now it's shattered, so that Star Dragon's off the field, and with that, probably the last chance for the High Elves to kind of come back into this one. I guess now there's nothing really left to contest the Bretonnian mobility, and the High Elves are going to withdraw, and Shetland Apache will take that first match. Hey, Wicked, thanks for joining in. So the Silvern Guard, I mean, they do well against kind of the cav forces. I mean, they were able to last long, but I mean, the Bretonnia just had so much mobility. I mean, you had the Albric, you had the Royal Hippogriff Knights, you had all the cav forces. They're just able to kind of pick and choose where they engage. And there's a few where they got a little isolated, but overall, especially that ending where they were able to just get a complete surround off on that Star Dragon, that was really the final nail in the coffin, and losing Teclis kind of off to the side as well. Sure didn't help them. All right, so Shetland will be back in just a couple of minutes here. So we'll get the next map set up. Let's see. Let's go sort of Torgold for our next match. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting pick by Therese, kind of going High Elves into Bretonnia. But guys, that Star Dragon, you had the Royal Hippogriff Knights were able to pretty much contend that with Albric, the Lothern Sea Guard just weren't able to stay completely free to fire for long enough to really provide the assistance that they needed. But again, not a whole lot. But Therese will have his picks. Huh. Oh yeah, we should update the scorecard as well. All right. All right, so Therese is going to be going Empire, banning Counts, and Dark Elves. And Shetland instantly picks Dawi as going to be a definite favored matchup for him. So I think, with Empire, you pretty much have to ban Dwarves. If you can. you can win that matchup, but it's a lot harder than some of the other matchups. I mean, Counts and Dark Elves, I think, are pretty even matchups for Empire. They do fairly, I mean, they can go either way with that. I mean, as a Counts player myself, I personally like going up against Empire, but they have the tools that they need to do well. So, let's see. Yeah, like Empire's one bad matchup is the Dawi, so that is definitely what Shetland's going to be going with. Yeah, so yeah, in this case, I mean, the Empire, I mean, they'll have the mobility advantage, but they'll be heavily outgunned in terms of firepower. So if you go with the mobility route, now all of your skirmishing or your cav forces are going to be kind of keen targets for any of the gunpowder of the Dawi, so they'll be able to tear into those units fairly well. And if you try and contest the Dawi artillery with your own, you're going to generally lose that matchup. I mean, there's a little bit of RNG involved in that, but for the most part, the Dwarven cannons are going to be outshooting the great cannons of the Empire. So yes, yeah, Papa Palpatine. So the first set was won by Ulrich Rahl, so he will be in the finals. And yeah, so now we have currently Shetland Apache has won the first match against Therese. I mean, for Dima, this map, I mean, for the Dawi, I mean, it's fairly open. You do have that, like, kind of divot in the middle of the map that kind of stretches it out, but for the most part, it is fairly flat. You'll be able to get quite a bit of shots, especially, like, if the Empire bring in a any artillery pieces. Those artillery pieces will be in direct line of fire for anything that the Dawi bring to counteract that. Yeah, J Phoenix, Therese did not ban the Empire for this build, or banned the Dawi. He banned Counts and Dark Elves, which again, both of those are fairly even. I say that either of those could go either way, but yeah, when you pick an Empire, you pretty much always want to ban the Dawi if you can. So Shetland is back already, and he has readied up. So Therese hopefully is ready as well. He's had plenty of time. Yeah, Dima, I would definitely say VC versus Empire are Counts favored. That's generally a match I'll take any day of the week. That's probably the one matchup as the Counts that I've played the most. And yeah, I definitely have some builds that I feel I'm pretty confident with against any Empire build, because especially since Empire pretty much always are going to be bringing Volkmar, and I have some nice good counters against him. Yeah, definitely Papa Palpatine with the new rule update. Now we can have 3 Blood Knights. Though, in this matchup, I don't know, against Empire at least, I don't know if I generally would want to be taking 3 Blood Knights. I really like doing the 2 Blood Knights and 2 White Kings on horseback with Scabscrafe. Those, I just think that's a really good combo right there. Right, so just waiting on Therese, and we'll get this next match started. All right, now both contestants are ready to go. Let's get this show on the road. Alright, so it looks like both armies are loaded in. So we will start with the forces of the Dawi. So we have a bit of a vanguard. Actually, it looks like quite a bit of vanguard deployment here. So we have 5 units of rangers. We have some Norglings, Ironbreakers, a couple of miners with blasting charges, as long with the Ikran miners ROR. We have a couple of units of Thunderers, some more blasting charges, and Slayers with Grombrindle. So no artillery on the Dwarven side, but for the forces of the Empire, we have 2 great cannons. We also have the Hellblaster, or not the Hellblaster, the Hellstorm, I'm sorry. And we have a Light Wizard. That's kind of interesting. Light Wizard with Net of Amnatok. So that's, I mean, I guess he was maybe expecting to see some gyrocopters or something of that degree, because otherwise that net really isn't going to do very much against any of the other units that the Dawi will be bringing. Otherwise, we have a couple of units of handgunners, 3 of those. We have a Bright Wizard with Fireball, kind of deal with artillery pieces as well. So yeah, definitely the Empire was expecting to find a artillery build. So we have some Free Company Militia. We do have some war wagons, and see, is it 3 great cannons? It's actually 4 great cannons, so very heavy on the artillery side. So yep, Empire was definitely expecting to have an artillery duel, but that is not what they will be getting today. Instead, we have a full vanguard deployment by Shetland Apache, so this is going to be interesting. So, as everything opens up, everything is immediately in range of something. So yeah, these handgunners open up, but it's also all of the rangers are also opening up immediately into the Empire forces. And yes, Marcus Wolfhart is also commanding the forces of the Empire. I mean, some of the units of the dwarves are taking quite a bit of damage. These unit of rangers are routing right away. So I mean, the Hellstorm rocket battery might be the one saving grace, I think, for the Empire, because the dwarves, they brought a lot lighter in the armor department. I mean, you only have the Norglings Ironbreakers, which are over here, which are very heavily armored. Everything else, like the Rangers and stuff, take quite a bit of damage from the Hellstorm. But these all these cannons that the Empire brought really aren't going to be as useful as they were hoping. But some nice shots from the handgunners going right into the flank of the Norgling Ironbreakers. So yeah, with that whole 3 Blood Knights, it'd be interesting to see kind of how that plays out. So any replays, I'd be glad to see. So, yeah, so it looks like a net is going down on these Norglings. So that's actually maybe a good call there with the net. So now they're just able to get absolutely torn to pieces by 3 units of handgunners. So they're down very low, but they still have, I mean, they have 60 units. Hellstorm kind of firing in, missing their shots as it kind of goes down the hill, clipping the hillside as the shots fire in. Now the blasting charges are starting to close in, pushing off the handgunner. So that initial firepower from the Empire is now pretty much all wasted, because now as the melee infantry of the Dawi are kind of pushing in, all of the handgunners are no longer able to fire. So I think now things are definitely going to be moving a bit more towards the favor of the Dawi. And you have the Bright Wizard. His spell really isn't all that useful. So he might pretty much just be used to kind of push off these miners here. But otherwise, the Dawi are now pushing forward. They've already completely eliminated these great cannons, like very, very ruthlessly cleaned them out. And these Free Company militia will be able to get a few shots in as they kite away. But I mean, these great cannon crew is moving back. Marcus Wolfhart's fired away, but it's only a matter of time, I think, before the forces of the Dawi reach this Hell Cannon. And as soon as that Hell Cannon stops firing, pretty much all of the firepower of the Empire will be shut down, with the exception of, pretty much just the war wagons and the Free Company militia. But we do have some Outriders with grenade launchers, which will do very well against Slayers, which they are firing into. But I don't think that one unit is going to be enough to kind of carry the day here. Oh, Steve, when I'm saying Dawi, that is the dwarves. So yes, the balance of power is in the Dawi's favor, as while these miners are currently engaged with the Hellstorm rocket battery crew, they are getting some shots into the Free Company militia. Being in guard mode, they're able to get those shots in, and now this Hellstorm battery is pushed off and will probably not be able to reman those artillery pieces for the remainder of the battle. Norglings getting their last shots in, doing a lot of damage to these great cannons, eliminating all of their artillery pieces, and now they're just engaged with the Light Wizard, and they're taking some shots in from the war wagons, but it's really not going to be able to, I mean, they might be able to get rid of those Norglings, but that's the least of their worries right now, as the Dawi are pushing very far into the Empire's ranged units. So, yep, Slayers chasing after the Free Company militia. These units of Slayers are all the way in the back. Looks like a net going down on these 2 units of Slayers and Miners. Allow the Free Company militia to get as many shots in as they can. Net coming in probably from Marcus, but yeah, that's about just a temporary delay is all that's going to be. Yeah, his Snurglings are at least moving these war wagons away from Grombrindle. Grombrindle is going to be chasing after this Light Wizard as Smoke Bomb goes down, slowing down that Light Wizard. Another shot from Grombrindle will probably finish off that Light Wizard completely. Almost does, and that one will be heading for the hills. Yep, now these Slayers are collapsing onto these Free Company militia. They'll be off the field, and it looks like army losses will be triggering for the Empire. Shetland Apache will be taking this match. So yeah, that was a pretty rough matchup for the Empire. Went for a little ballsy play here with no infantry, going very, very heavy in the ranged, and that really just didn't pay off with him going for as Shetland went for the full Vanguard deployment. With the Rangers, the Miners, they just continued to push in. The Cannons and Hellblaster they just weren't able to stay firing for long enough to make their costs even remotely worth it. And it's like the net from the Light Wizard and the Bright Wizard with Fireball, both of those spells just weren't useful. He was very expecting an artillery build, and he didn't get that, so that was the end of that. So next match, yeah, will be Shetland and Ulrich. So we'll get Ulrich into here as we update the brackets as well. So yeah, Papa Palpatine with that build, I'm pretty sure that Torres was expecting like gyro copters or something to net them down, because otherwise, I mean, yeah, the Dawi don't really have a whole lot in terms of mobility, so there's not really a whole lot of uses for a net that would be beneficial, unless it was kind of going for a kite build, in which case he probably should have gone with maybe some more highly mobile forces that the Dawi couldn't catch. But and that will be that game as the kind of let's see if Ulrich is back in. So yeah, Shetland will be back in about 5 minutes. He has to feed his cat, so just waiting on Ulrich as well. All right. All right, so Ulrich has joined. Update the scorecards real quick. Let's see. The double nets, is that specific to, is it say Lord? Because I know, like, you can't bring 2 net spells, but I know you can bring, like, based on, like, units. So I'm not sure if, let's take a quick look at the rules on that. So, if we look at ability restrictions, an army may have up to 2 units with, oh, that's not nets. Where is the nets on this? I might just be missing it here, but I don't know if I see it in the current update on that. Yeah, you definitely can't have 2 on, like, 2 net spells, but I know, like, if you have the warp grinders for the Skaven, that doesn't count towards that limit. I'm just a quick look at the rules. I might have just missed it, but I don't see that specifically written out in the 4.01. So, oh, I will update the map. Yeah, Dima, I'm not. I think Arrow forgot to add it because I'm pretty sure it was in 4.0. I'm not seeing it in 4.01. So that'll be something we'll have to badger him about. All right. Yeah, we haven't done this one today. Pillar of Bone. Alright, so yep, I will be right back to go feed my dog while these folks pick their armies. Alright, I am back, so let's see what we have on the roster. So yeah, Alrik Roll picked Norska, banning Empire and High Elves, and Shetland Apache will be going Wood Elves. So we will get things on the way as we face off on Pillar of Bone. So yeah, picking Norska. I mean, Norska is pretty much good against any faction, with the exception of Coast, I'd say. Wood Elves are just kind of tricky in general to deal with, depending on how they want to play. Especially against a really good Wood Elf player, you're going to be facing a lot of kite and all that. Way Watchers are always a big threat, especially against any large single entities. I mean, if you bring Mammoth or whatever, but it looks like for the Wood Elves, we have a dragon up in the sky with the Glade Lord. So let's see here, we have, Prey of Anathramus, that's the Glady. We have a Spellsinger of Shadows with Enfeebling Foe and Melchos, and we have Dryads, War Dancers with Azrai Spears. We have Deepwood Scouts, it's a Swift Shiver Shards. We have the Wild Hunters of Karnos, so regular Wild Hunters with shields. We also have Sisters of Thorn. We have some more War Dancers. So we have some more War Dancers, some more Sisters of Thorn. So it's looking like kind of very light on the infantry in general, but we're definitely going for, you have the spears, nice good speed. Sisters of Thorn kiting away, as well as the two Deepwood Scouts as well. And as for the forces of Norska, commanded by Ulrich Kroll. We have Wulfric on his mammoth. Let's see what he brought today. So yeah, he brought Hunters Champions and Seafang. Seafang probably not going to be as helpful with what the Wood Elves have brought today. We also have Icehorn Marauders, more Marauders into Sunset. We have 1 unit of Berserkers, 3 unit of Skin Wolves, a Fimir Balefiend of Fire, and we have 3 Horsemen to provide some skirmishing. Let's see, and yeah, we have Flaming Cloak and Flaming Head and Arcane Conduit. But yeah, so not a whole lot of infantry on the Wood Elf side. We'll see how things go. I think the Wood Elves have the initial, looks like a little bit of lag there, but we have, I think the Wood Elves might have the initial skirmishing advantage. They'll probably trade very well into the Marauder Horsemen, but if the Marauder Horsemen overload one side, 3 of them should be able to deal with the Sisters of Thorn. Well, if both Sisters of Thorn are on them, I think 2 to 3, they'll win that one. And we also and the Deepwood Scouts are now firing in, getting some nice good shots into the Skin Wolves. So the Skin Wolves do have regen, so they'll be getting that health back as long as no models are lost. Shots raining into Wulfric. That's probably where the Deepwood Scouts are going to want to be firing in. But yeah, definitely the Wood Elves don't have the infantry to contend Norska in an open battle right now, so it will very much be a kite build as they continue to push back, and I think the Skin Wolves are going to do very well in this case. So yeah, the Skin Wolves are able to kind of catch up enough to the War Dancers, or to the Sisters of Thorn, so now they are all kind of engaged. The War Dancers will do fairly well. They have some nice anti-large, as now the Wild Hunters are kind of charging into the Marauder Horsemen, as they are trying to protect the Deepwood Scouts from the Skin Wolves. So Seafang coming in, trying to clip through these 2 units, but a little late on the draw. Might clip, yeah, just barely clip these Deepwood Scouts, but these Deepwood Scouts are getting overwhelmed right now by the Skin Wolves and the Marauder Horsemen, and now the Wild Riders are kind of charging in to hopefully save them. We have the Curse of Anraher is now being cast, and Hunters of Champion was actually cast on the Glade Lord, dropping its speed, armor, and melee defense, though there's been really no follow-up to that. There's no range units that are able to do enough damage, so we're kind of wondering about that pick there. Burning Head cutting through the last units of Wild Riders, but the Glade Lord is engaged. Looks like hopefully we're not going to be dropping here. Alright, looks like things are moving a little bit. Come on. Oh, we'll get to see everything in a nice slow-mo as the Burning Head kind of goes through this open field. Looks like, yeah, we have the Arcane Conduit going off and Scroll of Power getting a nice ability recharge. But these War Dancers are being pushed off. It looks like that 1 unit, at least, of Sisters of Thorn. Actually, no, both the Sisters of Thorn are still around. They just kind of left those spears to kind of run away from these 2 units. But now the Wild Hunters and Glade Lord are on top of Wulfric, pushing off 1 unit of Skin Wolves. If the Sisters of Thorn maybe pull off, might be a good way to keep them out. I know these Wild Riders are pushing off those Skin Wolves. Dragon is actually, yep, now Dragon is charging into Wulfric, save the Wild Hunters. These Azrai Spear, though, mixed in, will actually be doing a fair amount of damage, and I think Norska's probably going to be focusing more towards the Wild Hunters and Glade Lord. But those Azrai Spears, if they can get pushed off, that's a very kind of expensive unit to keep off the field, and Norska has the mobility themselves as well in the form of the Skin Wolves to make sure that they don't come back. Though these Deepwood Scouts are still able to continue to fire into some Marauders. These Sisters of Thorn are wavering very much, though. I mean, if these 3 Horsemen just focus fire on those will be running away for sure. but it looks like we have 2 spells just cutting through these units. It looks like the Sea Fang kind of missed its targets, but that Burning Head did some pretty good damage against these Sisters of Thorn and kind of the other units here, but at the cost of the Skin Wolves, but they were pretty low already. So Deepwood Scouts in the back, kiting away a couple of units of Marauders, with the Sisters of Thorn getting some free charges in. Glade Lord kind of flying overhead, taking some focused shots from the Marauder Horseman as he tries to get on top of the Femur Balefine of Fire, cascading Fire Cloak going down, getting some nice weapon damage and melee defense. But yeah, Wulfric is pretty much running through these Deepwood Scouts. But if these units for Norsca kind of converged on that Glade Lord right now, really it's very isolated right now. I mean, you have the Deepwood Scouts that might be able to provide some fire support, and a net actually going down on the Skin Wolves as Prey of Anathrema is out to allow that Glade Lord to get away. And the Deepwood Scouts fire in response, but they're not targeting the ones that were netted down. Yeah, I definitely think Norsca is going to have the advantage here. The Wood Elves are just kind of running out of steam. Their ammo is pretty depleted, like their Deepwood Scouts, and they're getting kind of collapsed upon by what's left of the mobile forces, though that Glade Lord kind of coming in, keeping these Marauder Horsemen away from these Deepwood Scouts was really a good play there to make sure that they're able to fire as much as they can. But yeah, the Wild Hunters of Kurnos are now getting ganged up on by the surrounding units, but the Femur Balefine of Fire has routed, so that Glade Lord can collapsing in, trying to get some free damage down. So the Enfeebling Foe is cast on this one unit, but now Wulfric with these Berserkers are coming in to the fray as well. So, you still have one unit of Azrai Spears way off in the distance. That's not going to really make a difference anymore at this point, and Wulfric should be able to do very well against the Glade Lord in one-on-one combat. His Hunters of Champions should be able to come back fairly soon now, so if that Glade Lord lands again, I got to imagine that Hunters of Champions will be up by that time. Yeah, balance of power is very much in Norsca's favor at this point, as there's not a whole lot of the infantry, at least, left that can deal with Wulfric. If the Glade Lord is able to kind of just pluck away at Wulfric, she'll probably do fairly well. And even on the Norscan side, there's not a whole lot of ranged units left. But yeah, the Glade Lord's going to have to engage with all the ammo being spent, or at least have the infantry satisfy that engagement rule. But yeah, taking some shots in to the rear from Wulfric is not what that Glade Lord is going to want to be doing. And yeah, now that Glade Lord is shattered, and the rest of the army will follow, and Norsca will take the first match. So, yeah, taking a look at the armies again, the Azrai Spears, I think when you're going with a kite build, maybe that's not so much the route to go. But yeah, they just didn't have enough to deal with all of the Skin Wolves, I think, were really that factor there. Having 4 of those units that had good mobility, good staying power, they just couldn't deal with them fast enough before they were able to collapse on their key units. But yeah, first round will go to Ulrich Rahl. And let's get the next map set up. Let's go with Schwarzhofen. Yeah, potentially. I'm not sure if I remember actually seeing any of the breath attacks from Shetland there, but I think I don't even know because the Norscan forces were there was never a good opportunity to use it. The only times I think if you maybe have gotten one directly on top of Wolfric there could have done some good damage, but against the infantry they're always on the move and really didn't provide a good target there. So anyways, for the next patch, Shetland Apache is going to be picking Bretonia, banning Dawi and the Lizards. So we'll see what Alri Grawl kind of goes with. It's a very open match, and yep, he is going to be going with Coast. Coast has a very favorable matchup to Bretonia. I mean, you've got Noctilus on his Necrofex, you've got all the cannons, or not even necessarily cannons in this pick, but the mortars do very well against all the chaff infantry of Bretonia. Yeah, the gunpowder lines, all that good stuff. I think just Coast has so many picks that can do well against Bretonia here. Yeah, Bretonia in the latest rule edition did get a increase into the what cav forces I can bring. So we'll see if Shetland kind of decided to go that route, or if he's kind of be going with more kind of wide archers with a few cav. So Shetland is ready though, and we'll see. Oliver Crawl should be not too far behind. I mean, I would generally go a couple mortars, Noctilus on his Necrofex, some handguns. You got plenty of summons for additional firepower. Morngul's do fairly well, kind of mucking up any cav charges, and they're got decent speed. So we will see. I think Arik should be just about set. Looks like he's saying good luck, have fun. So I think we should just be about ready to get this next match on the way. So yeah, we have Arik Crawl up 1-0. This is again a best of 5 final. So all right, and both are ready to go. Alright, so on the fields of Schwarzhofen is where we find ourselves on this next match, as the forces of Bretonia and the Vampire Coast, not the Counts, face off. So, for the forces of Bretonia, we have Knights Errant, so we have 3 of those, and the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis, a ROR for the Knights Errant, and a Grail Guardians, as well as we have the Pegasus Knights up in the sky, and we have the Green Knight and the Fey Enchantress. So for the front line, we have a line of peasant mobs. We have 5 of those. We have some men-at-arms. We have 1 unit of peasant bowmen here, 2 and 3, just the regular variant. And then looks like some mounted yeoman archers as well. So, I mean, the Green Knight will actually probably do fairly well. Coast lacks the in the magic damage department. And then for them, we have mortars, 2 cannons, and the Count Noctilus on his Necrofex. So very heavy on the range department. We have 2 units of bombers. Will do very well against any of the chaff infantry. It'll just kind of tear them to pieces. We actually have depth guard today as well. So we have 2 units of pole arms with depth guard. We have the handguns here. We have just the gunnery mob and some more handguns. And then we have 2, 3, 4 units of the pole arms. So yeah, we're going to be seeing some depth guard today. We'll see how they pay off. Generally a little higher price than they're worth. But we'll see how things go there. Definitely quite a bit of cav forces for these cannons to be firing at. Mortars as well will have their choice of targets. Getting rid of kind of the peasant bowmen or any of the peasant mobs. So those will do very well. And of course Noctilus on his Necrofex does very well against cav in general. But we'll see if they have enough to hold off Bretonia before Bretonia gets into all the goodies in the middle. Well, thank you, Demo. Yeah, this is a second career, or I mean, it's not really a career now, it's just kind of a hobby. But yeah, I just see how far it goes. But yeah, so both matches, or both contestants are ready, and the armies shall advance, or should I say Bretonia will be advancing on the position of the coast. So yeah, this Green Knight, I think, might be that X factor for Bretonia, because the coast doesn't have anything that can effectively deal with it. I mean, Noctilus isn't going to be able to do much to him, and the Green Knight will be able to do a lot to him. Yeah, as the shots rain in, the Green Knight can actually probably just engage freely here without too much of a concern. I mean, you have these handguns that could turn and fire on him, but I mean, he's going to have quite a bit of resistance against that. Now if Coast had brought Spiteful Shot, which you really generally wouldn't bring against Bretonia, the only target that Spiteful Shot would be useful is the Green Knight. The Green Knight is getting surrounded right now by 2 polearms units, so I mean, they will be getting anti-large, but the Green Knight is the Green Knight, so that'll be doing very well. But at least they are keeping the cannons and mortars singing. So some more polearms moving to screen out these incoming Pegasus Knights. Though I think those Pegasus Knights are going to have to be dealt with by some handguns or maybe some more pirate gunnery mob summons. But yeah, those handguns are doing some very good damage. And now the yeoman archers are firing into the bombers ahead of the advance of the peasant mob. Now these bombers might be able to just outright rout. I did forget about that spell there, where that does fairly good damage against the Green Knight. I mean, he is just pretty much stuck in. I mean, those depth guard are probably going to be point blank shot, doing noticeable damage to those Pegasus Knights. The Pegasus Knights have maybe taken off 1 unit of Carronade, and Invocation might salvage them. But now, I mean, these knights need to get on to these mortars, and the rest of the ranged units though a summon's coming down to kind of screen them out as best they can. And that Green Knight, I think, has just kind of been forgotten for a little too long and needs to pull out. Yeah, so yeah, this Carronade is still crumbling away. I think it is just getting onto its units again. But again, these mortars are being shut down by those Knights Errant, so that was a job well done. But they haven't taken some shots from some handgun mobs. But yeah, I think Bretonnia is doing a good job at kind of eliminating the high threat pieces here. And I think if the Green Knight had really been saved, I mean, it's still very too early to call Bam's Power is dead even, but the Green Knight, I think, just getting engaged in this engagement here wasn't necessary. The Cav forces have done a very good job of shutting down the damage dealers, so the Carronades, the mortars, they've been doing very well there. And the Fey Enchantress is now stuck in, draining away what's left of this front line. When you have the Depth Guard here, which are also currently getting drained, they're within that range. Let's see here, so we have an Earthblood healing up that core units there. But now if these mobile units turn in, eliminate this last artillery piece, and now we have more Knights Errant running into these gunnery mobs. That should just be a summon, but I think that Bretonnia has a decent chance here of kind of coming back. Although, of course, Noctilus is still going to be a hard nut to crack. But again, I think if that Green Knight, if he had been preserved just a little bit more, he would have been able to take Noctilus very easily. Shots raining into the backs of these defenders, literally. So as long as Noctilus is to continue to just fire unabated, and if you can even get the Fey Enchantress with these men-at-arms to break these last zombies here, get him to stop firing. I mean, these polearms are keeping these Knights Errant mucked up. So we have some more peasant bowmen are engaged with these polearms, but definitely the range firepower of Coast has been brought low. And then another spell going down on the Green Knight that is doing very good damage. So now he is, at this point, even if he does get a nice heal off, I don't think he's going to be as much of a factor as he could have been. But the Fey Enchantress is now actually kind of getting mucked up a bit herself. We got to get these, but yeah, these pole arms of the Depth Guard are going to just cut through these peasant mobs now that they're routing. They'll just turn around, come right into here as the Fey Enchantress is now running away. So it looks like Coast is still going to be able to pull this one off. Even though there's quite a bit of ability left for Bretonnia, they've just kind of lost. I mean, yeah, losing the Fey Enchantress, not necessarily losing, but very low, and continue to just take some shots from Count Noctilus. But now it looks like more and more units are starting to rout. The Green Knight's kind of still sitting in the back, but again, he's so low on health, he's not going to be much use. And these polearms, or these Depth Guard polearms, are going to be very good against what's left of the Cav forces. Though in a isolated incidents, those Depth Guard won't do well against getting hit from both sides. Well, they really do best when they're mixed in with other infantry. But it is not quite over yet. There is still ranged firepower from Bretonnia that can do well against what's left of the Coast, though Noctilus still has some good amount of shots left that can do very good damage against the cavalry forces. And a spell coming in, I think that was mostly shots from Noctilus himself, but might be causing the Fey Enchantress to rout again, and one more time will be all that she has left. As now the Green Knight coming back, getting as much heals as he could, but still a few shots, and if these handguns turn around, could maybe even just finish it off right away. But we do have the peasant mobs on the Coast doesn't really have the ability to shut down the peasant bowmen, but it looks like the peasants are starting to just shatter. Some shots just going in on the polearms, eliminate the infantry support of the Coast, I'm sorry. And now the Green Knight is charging forward against Noctilus. Getting in. Now these pole arms need to kind of screen out that Green Knight. Green Knight's very low, but he will do a lot of damage if he is able to engage Noctilus. Alright, Noctilus taking some point-blank shots, missing the Green Knight, but now we have a kind of a surround off. We got some Grail Guardians and the Green Knight coming in. Those pole arms are going to try. I mean, they are depth guards, so those will do very well against the Grail Guardians. Probably enough to save them. Some more of, yeah, as I said, the depth guard are really what's going to be the hardest nut to crack if they stay close to Noctilus. If they're able to stay close, not much is going to be able that can deal with him can get close enough. So yeah, it's like the Green Knights, any of the cavalry forces. You'll be able to shoot in with the Peasant Bowmen, but the Peasant Bowmen, there's not enough of them left to do enough damage to Noctilus. But Noctilus is out of ammo, so it's just going to be his units left. Now, there is a change in the rules, so he doesn't necessarily have to attack here. He can hold his position as long as it is an open field. So Bretonnia will be able to just fire off the last of their ammo. Coast will be able to essentially just box up now at this point. You get both of the depth guard next to Noctilus. They'll be able to deal enough damage to the Green Knight, and the Green Knight's the last thing that can really deal with Noctilus. So he'll be able to, once he's off the field, which, I mean, Noctilus shouldn't have another Maelstrom, but yeah, it looks like army losses are going to be kicking in for Bretonnia. And the Green Knight's all that's left with his Unbreakable, but nothing that he can do is going to be able to salvage this as the Depth Guard come in and deal the final blow. So yeah, it's a very good battle there, and as I was saying, the biggest, I think, problem with that engagement was if Shetland had saved the Green Knight, he did not need to be engaged as he was early on. He just stayed engaged with a unit of polearms and the Depth Guard polearms, and the Depth Guard really did a number on him. If he had been saved, especially at the end there, had he been at full health, or had he been, because for a longest time he was stuck in the forest as he was trying to heal up as best he could. But if he had been able to be fresh during that middle engagement, I think he could have done a very good job at assisting the Fey Enchantress, and that very well could have been all that was needed to take down Noctilus. And I think had Noctilus gone down, that would have been curtains for the rest of the Coast Army. But a very good match indeed. Can't believe I failed the lady. And Shetland will be on the couch again for that heresy. So let's get our next map up. And now Ulrich, so he is now up 2-0, so this will be match point for him. Let's see, where do we want to go today? Let's go with Galbaraz. I don't think we did this one yet. Oh. Alright, and we'll update the scorecard as well. Alright. So, will RTK take one of the slots for the playoff bracket? Alright, so now Ulrich Kral is going to be going for Bretonnia in this case, banning Dawi and Coast. So yeah, those are pretty good pans by Ulrich here. I mean, a lot of the range units, so I think Empire's a pretty good matchup here. I mean, just a fun matchup, I'd say, but I mean, Bretonnia they have a lot of poorer matches, but we'll see what Shetland goes with for his pick. Let's see this Shetland comeback. Warriors lost a 3-1 series, so we'll see if Shetland can go 3-0 to close it out. So Shetland is going with the Green Tide as he goes with the Greenskins. So, I mean, I like this matchup, actually. I played against, actually, Ulrich's Bretonnia faction with Greenskins not too long ago. And it was a good matchup there. I did a lot better than I thought I would. But, I mean, Bretonnia's got some good units against that. Especially, but the Greenskins have such a wide variety now, especially compared to what they used to have. Their lords have just gotten a lot better. They got a lot more unit variety. You got the stone trolls. You got some nice, you got some more mobility as well. But I think it should go fairly. It should be a good match either way. So it looks like Ulrich is very proficient with Bretonnia, according to Adelmo. So this should be very interesting indeed. But yeah, definitely. Shetland did not go with the Lizardmen for his pick today. All right, so Shetland is ready to go. We will see if Ulrich will be shortly to follow. All right, well, let's see. Ulrich should be just at his unit cap. I would think he's just going over his allotted amount. So that's why Shetland's been getting kicked off of his ready up state. But it looks like Ulrich is now ready, and we will be getting this final match point game underway. All right. So it looks like a very elite core of greenskins on this battlefield today. So looks like we have a Cup 3 units of Black Orcs. We have the Arachnarok Queen. We have the Mangy Marauders, the Goblin Wolf Archers ROR, some regular Forest Goblin Spider Riders. We have the Broken Tusk Mob, some Orc Boy Biggins, and we have the Hammer of Gork Goblobber, and we have Wurzag, and he has brought the Effigy of Dagit. He has brought the Foot of Gork and the Gaze of Gork with Squiggly Beast as his lovely kit. But yeah, very compact. I'm not really sure if the Broken Tusk Mob will be as helpful here, depending on how many, and they have gone very heavy in the cav for Bretonnia. So we have 2 Knights of the Realm here. We have another there. We have 2 Questing Knights. And we have Pegasus Knights, 2 of those. Very mobile force. Field Trebuchets, Fey Enchantress, just the Peasant mobs in the front. We have some Men-at-Arms, 3 of those. And we have 4 Peasant Bowmen. We have Pox Arrows. We have 3 Pox Arrows and just 1 regular one. But yes, very mobile on the Bretonnian side, but a very elite core on the Greenskins. But we will see if that elite core will hold on this day. So yeah, it looks like it's definitely going to be a bit more of a box formation from the Greenskins. They're going to be just getting the hammer gorks is going to be firing off. But I think there's just so much mobility on the Bretonnian side. I mean, you have the field trebuchet as well that can fire in. But it's like the Pegasus Knights will easily be able to shut down the rock lobber, and then the skirmishing forces of the Greenskins aren't as good as most skirmishing forces. But this match is underway as Bretonnia will be moving up. And the Greenskins are definitely just going to be sitting back, letting their artillery fire and getting their skirmishing as much as they can. We'll see if they're able to hold back the tide of cavalry. Greenskins kind of repositioning a bit. So he gets the 8-peak loonies up in front. And getting the Arachnarch Queen out as well, to kind of screen out anything that it can. Yeah, the Bretonnia army, in my opinion, is definitely the favored, just with the vast majority of mobility that they have. And like the flyers are just going to be able to get on to whatever they want to. You have the skirmishings will be able to keep them a little honest, but they're taking a fair amount of damage actually from the Manji Marauders, as now the Bowman Archers are firing in. But yeah, one unit of Peasant Bowmen are already running away from the shots from the Hammer of Gork. But I mean, at this point, you have this, the Arachnarch Queen is very far ahead. I think Bretonnia could very easily just collapse upon it, and that's just going to be curtains. There's nothing close enough to deal with it or to protect it. And if they get enough forces, you get these 2 Pegasus Knights on top of it, and you do have the rock lobber to get to fire into that group. I think maybe that may have been the plan there, to get a surround off and then just have the artillery just fire in. On the Blessed Trebuchet is returning fire on the Hammer of Gork. Hammer of Gork still has all 3 of its models. And in Earthblood here, it looks like it did get 1 unit of Pegasus Knights. Did it get both? It did get both, so they'll be healing up. I don't think they've lost any unit. Well, 8, 17, 18, so they have lost 1 unit. But now a charge coming in onto the Orc Biggins. Now if they pull off quickly enough, they should be fine. But a spawn of spider hatchlings, hoping to keep them in. They are slowed down considerably. They're terrified now. So they did take quite a bit of damage, so that charge probably wasn't exactly worth it. But now these 8-peak loonies are just getting sandwiched by the Pegasus Knights, taking a lot of damage. And now they are down below half health. So I believe that is the threshold for their Vortex. You say Vortex, but it's their Fanatics. So they won't be able to use that anymore now that they're so low on health. Now these Spider Hatchlings trying to chase off these Knights of the Realm. Luckily, all those Knights of the Realm still might go off the field, but they do come back at the last second. They just didn't quite make a beeline for the white line, but so they will be back and ready for more. The Broken Tuskmoth chasing off some of the peasant mob as the Arachnarch Queen gets into the Peasant Bowman, but the Pegasus Knights are flying ahead above, and they will be collapsing on that position as they kind of pull up right before, as a summons of hatchlings is about to go down, so they'll just kind of wait that out, go after the Broken Tusk Mob instead, as they just get collapsed upon by the Knights of the Realm and a unit of Pegasus Knights. And the other Pegasus Knights did engage the Arachnarch Queen, keeping that from helping out that engagement, as now the Fey Enchantress is running in to get her Mortis Engine effect into that little blob to keep them down and out. So, by now the Arachnarch Queen has gotten in to that engagement, though the Broken Tusk Mob is routing. So now these units are going to either be able to pull out or turn and attack. But a foot of Gork right into the middle of the Knights of the Realm, and the Pegasus Knights doing a lot of damage, shattering one of the units and routing the other. That was quite a bit of damage. Very good casts there, as very high value cavalry was grouped together in a single spot. And now the Broken Tusk Mob is back, and the Black Orcs are engaging the men-at-arms, and the Black Orcs will 100% be winning that engagement. But these other two Black Orcs are kind of a little bit farther away. The Hammer of Gork has been pushed off, at least for the time being, but now this initial Bretonnia pocket is starting to falter a bit, as another unit of Knights of the Realm is starting to rout shots coming in from these Forest Goblin Spider Riders into the Pegasus Knights that might actually be enough to rout them if they get some good damage off onto them. But it looks like they are stabilizing, at least for now. Fey Enchantress, I think that you can be getting an Earthblood in before too long on both of these Pegasus Knights, get them up. But yeah, these Forest Goblin Spider Riders are getting caught out a little bit. And a Vindictive Glare looks like coming in, landing into the side of these Pegasus Knights. As the Field Trebuchet firing into this pocket of Black Orcs here, doing some good damage. Still got a decent amount of ammunition left. These Questing Knights still are sandwiched in a bit by these Goblin Wolf Archers and the Black Orcs, so that's not where they need to be. I mean, Questing Knights will do fairly well in sustained combat, but not when they're pinned in against Black Orcs. Black Orcs will be doing very good armor-piercing damage. And now the Cav forces of Bretonnia are trying to push off this pressure here on the far flank, because you get Wurzag pushing up. Now another Foot of Gork coming in, not doing as much damage as the last, but still doing a very good amount of damage to the Knights of the Realm right there. Yeah, that first cast was a glorious cast. And you have the two Black Orcs coming in. Now, against these two Black Orcs, which are at full health, the Field Trebuchets would generally be kind of the key factor in dealing with them. I don't know if the Cav forces left are able to effectively deal. Now, the Fey Enchantress might be that kind of X factor, but she is engaged with Wurzag, and her support is starting to fade a bit. I mean, even though it's just Spider Hatchlings putting pressure on her, you do have the Arachnar Queen and 2 units of Black Orcs coming in. So, but it does look like Wurzag is starting to falter a little bit. Maybe able to stabilize Pegasus Knights, trying to get a nice charge in to get him out. But yeah, the Trebuchet is now firing right in that arc just enough to go down that hill, firing into the 2 Black Orcs. As I said, that's kind of what they want to be doing. I'm wondering if just these 2 Black Orcs just aren't going to be enough, especially because the Arachnar Queen is just so low. As you know, the Arachnar Queen is routing, and since the mobility advantage is solely in the favor of Bretonnia, they're going to be able to just chase that off to their leisure, with the Black Orcs just kind of having to slowly move to wherever they want to engage. I mean, they almost kind of have to go up and engage the Field Trebuchets, the one kind of static force here, because everything else is just going to be able to surround it, kind of herd them in. Now, I'm surprised actually to see nothing chasing the Arachnar Queen, as now the Fey Enchantress does go after her. So the Fey Enchantress will chase off that Arachnar Queen, and then these Black Orcs are just going to get cycled, charged to death pretty much, and these last Peasant Bowmen will fire in. You got some Spider Hatchlings, they'll be gone fairly soon anyways. But yeah, Bretonnia is definitely looking to be taking this match here. The 2 units of Black Orcs without support, just, yeah, they're just going to be picked apart from all sides. Yep, Shetland saying well played to Ulrich. So yeah, it definitely, I think Shetland did very well with the build that he brought. Definitely looking at the initial builds, you could see how drastically at a disadvantage they were in terms of mobility. And the Black Orcs really didn't help that, because it's so slow to go from one target to another when you have archers and mobile Pegasus units that just go in and out, and the Fey Enchantress herself. I mean, the Black Orcs can do decent, steady damage to the Fey Enchantress, but she'll be doing probably more damage overall when she's engaged here and getting her Mortar Ascension effect. It looks like we have another Earthblood coming in. That is definitely going to be sealing it for the Greenskins as they route to army losses. But a very well played match by Shetland as he makes his return to the multiplayer tournament scene. And Ulrich doing very well indeed. And he is going to be claiming the second slot of on the playoff bracket. The first slot was earned by Imperator from the first qualifier. So it looks like, yeah, both have already left. So yeah, GG to Ulrich indeed. So he'll take the final. So he'll take the championship slot, and yep, he'll be added to the list along with Imperator, who won the first match. So yes, yeah, very good matches today. We saw one return candidate from Therese, but otherwise everyone else in the semis were new from the first qualifier. So yeah, before we head out, I'm just gonna drop a quick link to the Discord. All right, and then we'll just see if I still have drop a quick link here. So yeah, that's linked to Discord where we'll be pretty much announcing the rest of the qualifiers, where we'll be I'll be posting all of the videos that I'm casting throughout the weeks and all that stuff. So that was but yeah, anyways, it was a very good stream. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a good one and stay safe. Oh, good match.